Welcome to Fresh Takes on Tech, where we explore innovation and technology shaping the fresh produce industry. Hosted by Vani Estes, Vice President of Innovation at the International Fresh Produce Association, this podcast brings you the brightest minds and boldest ideas transforming the future of fresh. In this episode, we're diving into two key areas of agricultural innovation: sustainable pest control and advanced pollination. First, we'll hear from Stephanie Gamez of AgraGene on how genetic technologies are transforming pest management. Then we'll join Sade from BloomX, who's rethinking pollination through biomimicry and precision tech. Enjoy the show?
Hi, I'm Vani Estes, the Vice President of Innovation at the International Fresh Produce Association, and we are here at the Global Produce and Floral Show in Atlanta, and I'm doing recordings live with great technology companies, and I have one right here that we're going to talk to. So Stephanie, I'll just have you give your name and your company and what you're working on.
Hey, I'm Stephanie Gamez. I'm Director of R&D for AgraGene. And what AgraGene does is we pretty much use genetic technologies, gene editing specifically, to make sterile males for insect pest control in agriculture.
And so why would one want that?
Well, because, people like nice looking fruit that's not infested with, berry pests or crop pests. And so AgraGene right now is focused on developing a technology, the sterile insect technology in Drosophila suzukii, which is a berry pest. For blueberries, raspberries, strawberries. It's a really nasty pest in the West Coast or anywhere that grows cherries, small fruits pretty much. The problem with this insect is that females develop this ovipositor that kind of pierces the fruit and lays her eggs in there. And then the maggots grow up and start eating through it. And so growers lose a lot of crop because of that, right? Because you just can't sell that damaged fruit. And so it's a very big problem. And, the current technologies right now, like pesticides, insecticides, cultural practices, they do work, but to some extent. And there's still a big problem, of these insects in the field because, they're growing resistance to the insecticides. So growers are spraying double, maybe triple times, than
Wow.
than they used to, and even climate change is affecting when these insects start coming out. Like for example, in New Hampshire, like we were talking to a grower who was saying that in the past 2 years they haven't seen a lot of Drosophila, the fruit flies, and just this year they came out early because the temperatures were warmer and growers lost a lot of their crop because of that. So it's emerging in places where they normally didn't have a problem, and so this is where AgraGene would come in, right? Because we're not using chemical synthetics, anything like that. We're using pretty much Mother Nature. We're using the fly itself to go out and seek and kind of like suppress these harmful populations below a threshold, so that the growers could again go back and be able to sell their crop. Yeah.
So does it take a generation then? Like, I assume you do a release of
Yes.
the males, and so do the females? This is more entomology than most people probably care about, but so do the females just lay eggs once, or do the females lay eggs multiple
Well,
times?
they usually lay once. Sometimes they can lay more than once. Um, and so that's pretty much tied into the mating aspect, right?
Yeah.
And so where AgraGene, how we see this technology working in the field is, we release these sterile insect males that will go out, find these females, mate with them once. She will not want to mate again, right? Because naturally that's what happens. And so if she is ready to mate again, the idea is that AgraGene will do these subsequent releases, with a period of time, and the chances of her finding a sterile male versus a fertile male are high, right? And so she's going to mate with the sterile male, and again, she's not going to be able to lay eggs and so on until she, perishes. But
And
yeah.
is it a how do you figure out when is the best time to release the sterile males?
So that is what we're trying to figure out right now with field trials. So we are pretty much collaborating with several academic institutions, University of Michigan. We got some collaborators who are interested, Minnesota, and potentially Georgia, and pretty much around the country here. And we want to understand with these field trials, when is the right time to release these insects, right? Because we think, hey, we could release them early before, the crop shows up, or maybe it's more strategic to release them after, when crop starts to ripen. So those are the types of questions we want to understand with these field trials. Yeah.
And when do is it mature fruit that they lay
Yeah.
eggs in? Yeah.
Yeah, mature fruit. So the Drosophila suzukii likes laying her eggs in ripe fruit because at that stage, that's where you have the yeasts and the sugars already there. That is the main food source for the fruit fly. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I was talking to Matt Hoffman at Driscoll's just about different types of problems, and especially around climate change effects. And this was one of the problems that he brought up, is that this is a huge issue because of all the reasons that you said. The temperature is changing, and it's changing the way that they come in, and that he said they're really. We were talking about technology and technology solutions, and he said we don't really have a solution to this. Like, it just doesn't exist, and so it's not like it's a switching cost, like getting someone to use a product that
Right.
it's like they don't have a solution. So he's very excited about your product.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So you're at the field trial stage, right?
Yes.
And then you'll answer some of these questions. And then how will you sell them, and who will you sell them to, in the future when you get to that point?
So we would like to target the PCAs, the CCAs, the agronomists that work for the growers, and the growers too, because they're the people that are boots on the ground. They know when they see infestation, they know their fields better than us, so we would like to sell to them. And the idea of how we want to sell these insects, right? Because we have to mass produce these sterile insects. The idea is to have contract insectaries kind of grow these sterile insects. Is it's really easy because AgraGene would have the breeding lines, and then we would send these the insects to them. All they have to do is just set up a small cage, and they would start producing sterile males. And so these contract insectaries, which are pretty much found all over parts of the country, they would make these sterile males and then directly ship them or drive them to the grower or to the field site for releases. So that's how we imagine selling our technology.
So you were part of the Freshfield Catalyst Accelerator program this year. It was great to have you. So can you tell me a little bit about your experience of the program and some of the tangible benefits that you received?
Well, I'd like to say that this program is just really eye-opener for me because my background is I'm a molecular scientist, I'm a geneticist, so I'm in the lab, and I make technologies, I make these insects, and I hear, hey, this is a problem, there's a problem. Steph comes in, makes something in the lab to try to fix it, but I don't really know how that will translate in the field,
Ah.
And so with this program, I was pretty much allowed to kind of go out, and I had like a kind of like a badge to go in and be able to talk with growers themselves and talk about, their problems, their insect problems, see how they implement, what they're doing, their technologies that they're trying out. Because in my mind, it's different, right? I don't know. I've never been to a field. But with the IFPA, with the accelerator program, I was allowed to do that. I had the opportunity to go out there, boots on the ground, and see how people work. What are the problems? And I could try to, I'm able to think about, hey, how's my technology fit into into their solution, and just talking through with them was a really valuable experience. I certainly feel like I could start thinking about how I make technology different at my company based on the growers' needs.
Oh, excellent. That's great. That's what it's supposed to do. So this is your first time at the show. It hasn't, the floor hasn't opened yet, but what's your experience at the show so far?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Again, our company is a biotech company. We make a product for the grower, and this expo is mainly produce and grocery level. Sales, deals type of thing, and it's certainly different. But I appreciate seeing this is how my technology will influence the end product, right? Because our technology is environmentally safe, it's clean, right? We don't use chemical pesticides, and we're now in a day and age where people want, clean food, and sustainability. And so this is where we fit in, and we could, influence that, continue giving that clean produce, that nice looking blueberry, that
Yeah.
people want to eat. And so being able to see that and yeah, no, I think it's amazing. It's overwhelming, but I think in a really good way,
Yeah.
and I love it.
Great. Well, it's great to have you here, and I hope it continues to open your eyes in ways to apply technology. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So with me right now, I have Ty, and I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about yourself and the company and your solution and what you're doing.
Thank you, Vonnie. My name is Ty Sade. I'm the founder and CEO of BloomX. BloomX provides biomimicking pollination to enhance the natural pollination process by better distributing the pollen mechanically, mimics the natural process of insect interaction with flowers. We're able to support farmers with more controlled and efficient pollination solutions to complement or to replace honeybees or other insects that they use. So the idea is basically to have a mechanical device that they operate. They also have an app that shows them what is the right time to apply. They get the guidance and support by our technical field operation team. And then throughout the season, they operate. Once they finish, hopefully the harvest is good results, yield outcomes, quality and quantity of yields. And then we move forward to a bigger scale. And that's kind of the journey that BloomX has evolved through in the last few years since establishing the company in avocados and blueberries. So working on this specific crop, seeing the value increase year after year in different territories, mainly operating in Peru, Mexico, South Africa, a bit in the US.
So where are you in the commercialization process? Do you have customers? Are you still developing, or what's the stage there?
So we, since very early on, wanted to get feedbacks from the customers and kind of iterating the first products and MVP that we had, seeing the value firsthand since we established the company in 2020. And from there, we validated the technology and started to sell our pollination services in 2022. So we have around 30 customers in those geographies that are increasing year after year in avocados. What we are trying to get is yield outcomes better and to show that for the grower. And that process takes several seasons to have consistency in the data points and to convince and have trust in what we provide for the grower. So it's not sufficient to have 1 year positive results. Growers want to see that year after year after year, usually between 2 to 4 years, until they really take it for the full rollout.
So you said that you can help them decide when the right time to pollinate is. How do you do that? How do you know?
Yeah, so basically what we understand very early is that flowering have different behavior that's affected by environmental conditions. So we build an algorithm that allows us to understand how environmental conditions affect the flowering behavior. Basically, when the flowers are open, closed, when they're receptive, the pollen is easily removed and can be triggered to be released. So all the data points around the flowering that basically we need during the season is to get the environmental conditions that are specific to the geolocation that we are going to operate, that gives an operational insight for the grower when to apply it. Because any other time during the day, like human, is just not relevant. So you need to understand what are the guidelines on operation.
And that varies by crop and location
Yeah.
and weather, and all that data goes in.
Exactly, and you have crops that are very complex, like avocados, and you have blueberries, which is a bit less. But in any one, there is the things that you need to fine tune and have a tailor-made algorithm that understand.
And then there's an app that
Yeah, the goals
notifies
get an
them.
app. Basically, have kind of a focus that for the next coming days, you see what are the hours during the day that recommended to go and make the application. And for him, it will be basically the time to set up his team to go and make the application in the field. So saying, hey guys, tomorrow between 10:30 to 2, that will be the hours of operation. So then it can give him the operational insight on when to do that.
So what is one of the biggest challenges that you faced in commercializing the product? Is it distribution or getting people to understand the value, or what's the challenge?
I mean, there are so many challenges in establishing a business, specifically in agriculture and fresh produce, because in our case, being frontier, working with agriculture producers themselves, you are kind of exposed to the environments and stresses that they are exposed to. So at the end, if they're exposed, you're exposed. And that affects you as well. So I think understanding where we are and understanding the challenges that growers have, and they have a lot, and be very flexible and minded for introducing your technology and showing the value in the process that you need to take, which is more kind of long term. If I'm going back to the product market fit, it takes a lot of time to really show the value for the grower. It's not 1 year or not one season, it's 2, 3, or 4 seasons until you get recognized by the grower that it's fully convinced. So I think time to convince and time to market, it's a bit long, and that's I think the most challenging part that we are facing on today. And yeah, that's where we are. I think we are progressing to a point where we have more validation, we have more proof that the technology works, and then we also have now building the tools that will enable us to really scale it once the growers will recognize the ROI and will be tools, kind of an implement that will be attached to a tractor that can make the application automatically. So then it will be a no-brainer because they recognize the value and then have tools to do that.
You were in our Fresh Field Catalyst Accelerator program last year, not the current program. Can you talk a little bit about, and it's interesting because you've got a full year to kind of reflect, but what some of the advantages were of being in the program and some of the benefits that you got out of being in the program?
Well, I think there was several. First, having the immersion week where we started to really get perspective on the fresh produce industry. For me, it was a really meaningful week to understand different points on the value chain, different players and how they think, and that introduction was very meaningful. Not only specifically for California and the US, but I mean, because it has a global perspective, global connections to other places as well. I found it very meaningful week. I think the connections throughout the problem, high-level executives that can mentor you from various aspects, and having that network more accessible for early stage startup like us, it gives a lot. In focus and the good advices that you need. So understanding better your markets and where you operate from that network. And your peers, which at the end, having the same challenges as you. I think that gives you also a lot of people to kind of discuss, network, and understand how to solve different challenges that they face as well. So, having that along the journey, I think it's quite helpful. We're very happy to be part of the program.
Great. And this is your first time at the show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think so far? It just opened, the show floor just opened.
Yeah.
You're just down there. What's it like?
Very exciting. It's kind of a festival of fresh produce and very colorful. We are here, to strengthen our relationship with customers, existing customers, and open some new doors as well. And really looking forward for the rest of the day.
Yeah, it's exciting. I haven't been on the floor yet, but just the buzz is exciting. So many people. So
yeah.
Well, great. Thank you so much for stopping by the booth, and it's great to see you here at the show. And I wish you best of luck and lots of new customers. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie, for inviting me.
And thanks to our listeners for keeping in touch with us and listening to more stories in great companies.
Thanks for tuning in to Fresh Takes on Tech. See you next time.